Okay, so let's talk about a tool you use literally every single day, but probably never think about as a way to connect with people. I'm talking about your personal calendar. Today, we're going to dive into how this simple, everyday tool is being turned into an incredibly powerful, direct line to your fans.
It all starts with this one huge question, right? In a world where we're just bombarded with notifications, emails, and social media posts, it's just endless noise. How do you actually get through? How do you stay on your fans' radar in a way that feels genuine and not just like another ad?
You know, the fight for attention out there is just insane. Every post, every email is screaming for a tiny sliver of your fans' time. It's so easy to get buried in the feed, completely ignored, or worse, muted. So the real challenge is finding a space that your fans don't just see, but a space they actively trust and check every single day.
Well, believe it or not, the answer has been hiding in plain sight this whole time. It's the calendar. And I'm not talking about some new app you have to get people to download. No, I mean the native calendar that's already on everyone's phone, on everyone's computer. This is about opening up a direct, trusted, and honestly, a totally uncluttered line of communication.
Think about it for a second. When you really need to know what's happening, when and where's the first place you look? Your calendar, right? It's the one place you absolutely trust to be accurate. It's your personal source of truth. So, getting your event onto that schedule, that's a massive deal. It's a huge sign of commitment from a fan.
So how does this actually happen? What's the magic that gets an event from your spreadsheet all the way to a permanent, dynamic spot on a fan's personal calendar? Let's break down the system that makes it all work. It really comes down to a super smooth 4-step process. First, the event is basically created as a ready-to-go calendar invite. Next, the system takes that invite and makes sure it's in a universal format called ICS, so it works with Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, you name it. Then, that invite gets sent right to the fan's inbox. They just have to click once to add it. And finally, and this part is absolutely crucial, if anything changes, like a game time gets moved, that update is automatically pushed to every single fan's calendar. No more sending out frantic schedule update emails and hoping people see them.
And this is where you really see the difference. On one hand, you've got your usual reminders, emails, social media posts. They get buried, scrolled past, and the info is totally static. If something changes, you're just crossing your fingers that people notice. But on the other hand, with a direct-to-calendar invite, you get a one-click commitment from your fan. The information always stays up to date automatically, and you completely own that little piece of real estate on their schedule.
So, a system like this has some pretty awesome strengths. It works everywhere because it's built on universal standards. The experience for the fan couldn't be easier. It's literally one click. And for you, the organizer, you get total control over the message and all the updates. But the real game changer? It becomes a direct pipeline for collecting super valuable first-party data.
And that data, that's where this whole thing goes from being a neat scheduling tool to an absolute strategic powerhouse. We're talking about so much more than just putting a date on a calendar. We're talking about unlocking a crystal clear signal of what your fans actually care about.
Let that sink in for a minute. The calendar becomes a live, intense signal. Think about how much more powerful that is than a passive click on a website or a like on social media. This is a fan actively saying, yes, I'm carving out time in my personal life for you. That's huge. And what's so cool is how you can track that signal. Every single RSVP status tells a story. If they take no action, hey, at least you know they saw it. Awareness is there. An RSVP yes is gold. That's a highly engaged fan. You know what? Even an RSVP no is valuable feedback. And maybe that's a super warm lead. That's someone on the fence who you know is interested. But the incredible thing is, the data doesn't even stop there with just the RSVP. The calendar event itself can be so much more than a simple reminder. It can become a rich, evolving piece of content. The raw event data gets enriched. So for a sports team, for example, you can group games by week, so it's easy for a fan to follow the whole season. You can pop in team logos, links for more info, details about the matchup. And get this, after the game is over, you can push the final score and stats right into that same calendar entry. It keeps it useful and relevant way after the event is over. So when you combine this direct channel with all of this rich, amazing data, you get the real strategic payoff. This is where owning the fan signal really starts to mean something for your whole organization. What you're basically creating is what's known as a first-party analytics layer. Now that sounds kind of technical, but all it really means is you're combining that RSVP tracking with all the extra context about the event, and you control it all directly. This lets you measure real intent and build these super specific, targeted groups of fans. The first, and maybe the most important benefit, is that you own the signal. There's no social media platform, no third-party data company standing between you and your fans. You see the data directly. You get a totally unfiltered, honest look at your audience. The second huge win is just operational clarity. Because all the RSVPs and event details update automatically, your team isn't stuck trying to manually track who's interested or trying to stitch together data from 5 different places. It's efficient, it's accurate, and it frees up your team to actually think about strategy. And finally, every single event on that calendar becomes actionable. By adding in all that extra info, like the team details or the post-game scores, each calendar entry stops being a static little block of time and turns into a dynamic, living piece of content that keeps providing value. So all of this really leads to one final big idea. Maybe the most valuable real estate in the entire digital world isn't some crowded inbox or a fast-moving social feed. Maybe it's the trusted, personal space of a fan's calendar. And the only question left is, are you on it?